Welcome. Thank you for choosing to settle in and share this quiet space with me. Perhaps find a comfortable position. Let your shoulders soften and allow the gentle cadence of the journey to draw you inward. My name is Silas, and my travels are less about destinations reached and more about the quiet moments found along the way. Aboard my traveling home, the Wanderer, I move through the world slowly, finding a deep sense of peace in observing, listening, and simply being present in each new place. The steady rhythm of the train wheels has carried me across diverse landscapes, before from the gentle, tiled hills and sun-drenched light of Lisbon to the warm, spice-scented air and intricate patterns of Marrakesh, and the captivating blend of ancient temples and modern energy found in Seoul. Each journey leaves a soft imprint, a collection of quiet observations. Now, that same familiar motion carries me through the pine forest of Poland, the air growing cooler, hinting at the deep history embedded in the land ahead. We are drawing near to Krakow. In the chapters that follow, we will explore this city together, seeking out its quieter corners. We will stand in the vast expanse of its main square in the early morning light, listening for the distant haunting notes of a lone trumpet call. We will walk softly through the historic Kazimierz district, feeling the resonance of centuries past in the stones beneath our feet, noticing the unique character etched into its walls and courtyards. We will allow the gentle atmosphere of quiet squares and peaceful pathways to envelop us, finding solace in the small details, the way light falls on an ancient facade, the scent of pastries from a hidden bakery, the murmur of the Wisła river flowing nearby. This journey is an invitation to pause, to breathe, and to find a quiet appreciation for the present moment, just as I seek to do. Let the steady sound of the train and the unfolding narrative offer a gentle space for rest and reflection as we discover the quiet squares of Krakow together. If you find solace and peace in sharing these moments, perhaps consider liking this recording or subscribing to the channel so we might continue these gentle journeys together in the future. For now, let us begin. Chapter 1. Whispers Through the Pines. The steady rhythm of the wheels beneath me is a familiar lullaby, a constant companion on these quiet journeys. Outside the large window of the Wanderer, the landscape unfolds like a slow-shifting tapestry. Gone are the open fields and scattered villages of earlier days. Now, dense forests press close on either side, tall pines standing sentinel, their dark green needles seeming to absorb the pale afternoon light. It feels different here, a subtle change in the air, a deeper quiet that resonates even through the thick glass. This is Poland unfolding, mile by gentle mile. I take a slow sip from the warm ceramic mug cradled in my hands. The familiar scent of Earl Grey tea, with its hint of bergamot, mingles softly with the permanent comforting aroma of aged wood and worn leather that permeates my carriage. It's a scent I associate with peace, with the quiet solitude of transit. Outside, the pine trees sway almost imperceptibly in a breeze I cannot feel, their movement a silent dance against the soft gray sky. Occasionally, a break in the trees reveals a glimpse of distant rolling hills or a narrow track disappearing into the shadowed woods. My gaze drifts across the interior of my carriage, the polished wood panels glowing faintly, the soft cushions of the armchair opposite my own, the small stack of books resting on the low table. Everything is in its place, a small, contained world moving through a much larger one, It is this containment, this sense of a mobile sanctuary, that allows the mind to quieten, to simply observe the world gliding past without the need to grasp or define it too quickly. The train moves at a gentle pace, respecting the landscape it passes through. There's a certain solemnity to these forests, a feeling of ancient stories held within the dark trunks and the thick carpet of needles I imagine lies beneath them. I wonder about the lives lived just beyond the edge of these woods, the villages tucked away, unseen from the tracks. Crossing borders often brings this contemplation, the subtle shifts in architecture, glimpsed fleetingly, the change in the language on station signs momentarily caught, the feeling of moving from one sphere of history into another. It happens quietly, almost unnoticed, until you pause like now and recognize the transition. The light outside begins to soften further. The gray is deepening toward the blue of early evening. The reflections on the window become more pronounced, layering the image of the carriage interior over the passing forest. My own face floats there, indistinct, an observer observing himself observing. It's a curious, detached feeling, peaceful in its own way. Soon the rhythm of the train will change, slowing as we approach the outskirts of the city. The whisper of the pines will give way to different sounds. I trace the rim of my teacup with a fingertip, feeling the smooth warmth. Anticipation stirs gently within me, not an anxious flutter, but a quiet curiosity. Krakow. The name itself seems to hold echoes of history, of market squares and old stones. I have read guidebooks, looked at maps, but I know the true feel of a place reveals itself slowly, in moments unguarded, the way sunlight falls on a wall, the scent carried on the breeze, the cadence of voices in a quiet cafe. The train begins its subtle deceleration, the familiar clickety-clack easing into a slower, more deliberate beat. Lights appear in the distance, scattered at first, then growing more numerous, warm yellow squares punctuating the growing darkness. The forest recedes, replaced by glimpses of houses, fences, the first signs of urban life gathering around the edges of the tracks. A sense of arrival begins to settle, gentle but definite. I place my empty mug down on the small table, the ceramic making a soft clink against the wood. I gather my thoughts, breathing slowly, readying myself to step out of this moving haven and into the embrace of a new city. The journey continues, not just across land, but within the quiet spaces of the mind, carrying the peace of the tracks forward into the experiences that await. Krakow is near now, holding its breath just beyond the next bend. Chapter 2. Echoes Under the Vaults. The final approach is always a moment of gentle transition. The train glides smoothly alongside platforms, the sounds of the station filtering in a murmur of voices, the hiss of brakes, the distant echo of an announcement in Polish, the consonants and vowels unfamiliar but melodic. Krakow, Glony, the main station. It feels substantial, grounded. I stand as the wanderer comes to a complete soft halt, the carriage sighing gently. My worn leather satchel feels familiar over my shoulder, containing the essentials, notebook, camera, a sense of quiet anticipation. Stepping down onto the platform, I pause for a moment, allowing the atmosphere of the station to settle around me. The air is cool, carrying the faint metallic scent common to railway hubs, mingled with something else, perhaps damp stone, or the distant aroma of baked bread. Above, the high vaulted ceiling arches, catching the light and the sounds, creating a sense of spaciousness and history. People move with purpose, but without frantic haste, their footsteps echoing softly on the polished floor. There's a solidity here, a feeling of endurance. I begin to walk toward the main concourse, my pace deliberately slow. My eyes take in the details, the intricate ironwork supporting the roof, the grand arches framing doorways, the large clocks overseeing the comings and goings. It's a blend of eras, historic architecture housing modern conveniences, but the overwhelming feeling is one of dignity. I notice the way light falls through the high windows, creating shifting patterns on the floor, illuminating dust motes dancing in the beams. It feels like a place that has witnessed countless journeys, countless hellos and goodbyes. Reaching the main hall, the gentle murmur coalesces slightly, but it remains subdued, lacking the sharp edge of larger, busier terminals I've known. I find a quiet spot near a pillar, simply observing for a few moments. Families reuniting, individuals checking departure boards, the soft rumble of luggage wheels, small human moments playing out under the vast ceiling. I feel a sense of quiet connection, the shared experience of travel, even in silence. There's no need to rush. The city will wait. Outside the main entrance, the air feels crisper. The sounds of the city are present but slightly muted, the rumble of a tram in the distance, the gentle hum of traffic, voices softened by the open space. I locate the taxi stand, finding a driver with a kind face. I murmur the address of my rented apartment in Kazimierz, the name feeling slightly unfamiliar on my tongue, but the driver nods with understanding. The interior of the taxi is clean, simple, perhaps smelling faintly of polish. The journey through the streets is quiet. I gaze out the window, catching glimpses of Krakow unfolding. Buildings of stone and plaster, some ornate, some elegantly simple. Cobblestone streets branching off wider avenues. Trees lining the pavements, their leaves beginning to show the first hints of autumn color. People walking, cycling, going about their evening. It feels like a city comfortable in its own skin, carrying its history without being burdened by it. My driver is silent, navigating the streets with smooth familiarity. We turn into narrower streets, the buildings seeming to lean in slightly closer. The architecture changes subtly, taking on a different character. This must be Kazimierz, the historic Jewish quarter. There's a unique atmosphere here, even glimpsed through the taxi window, a sense of stories layered one upon another, a blend of melancholy and resilience. Small squares open up unexpectedly, lamps cast in a warm glow on the facades. It feels distinct, separate, yet integral to the city. The taxi pulls to a gentle stop beside a tall, elegant building on a quiet side street. I thank the driver, the Polish words feeling awkward but offered sincerely. He gives a slight smile and a nod. Stepping out onto the pavement, I look up. The building has large windows and wrought iron balconies. A soft light glows from a window on an upper floor, perhaps my temporary home. The air here is still, peaceful. The sounds are softer, distant music, a low murmur of conversation from an unseen courtyard. The echoes of the station vaults feel far away now, replaced by the quietude of this historic neighborhood. Chapter 3. A room above Kazimierz. The key turns smoothly in the lock, the heavy wooden door swinging inward with a soft creak. I step inside, closing it gently behind me, the sounds of the street immediately softening, becoming a distant murmur. The apartment welcomes me with a sense of quiet calm. Worn, polished wooden floorboards stretch out before me, glowing faintly in the light, filtering through the tall windows. The ceilings are high, adding to the feeling of spaciousness, even though the rooms themselves are not overly large. I set down my satchel near the door and walk slowly through the main room. The walls are painted a soft, neutral cream, reflecting the light. The furniture is simple but comfortable. A small sofa covered in a deep green fabric, a sturdy wooden table, and a couple of armchairs. Everything feels chosen with care, practical yet possessing a certain understated elegance. There's a small bookshelf tucked into an alcove, sparsely filled, inviting additions. It feels like a space designed for rest, for quiet contemplation. My steps echo slightly on the wooden floor as I move toward the windows. They are tall, reaching almost to the ceiling, overlooking a quiet internal courtyard. Below, I can see cobblestones, a few potted plants, the windows of neighboring apartments, some dark, some softly lit. There's a stillness here, a private world tucked away from the main streets. I stand for a moment, just breathing in the atmosphere of the room, letting the journey settle. The faint scent of beeswax or lemon polish hangs in the air. Unpacking is a slow, deliberate ritual. I lift my notebook and camera from the satchel, placing them carefully on the old wooden desk positioned near one of the windows. My few changes of clothes find their place in the simple wardrobe. Arranging these familiar objects helps to ground me, transforming an unfamiliar space into a temporary haven. It's the small routines that create a sense of home, no matter where in the world I find myself. The well-worn spine of my notebook feels comforting beneath my fingers. There's a small balcony, just wide enough for one person, accessible through a glass door off the main room. I slide the door open and step out into the cool evening air. The wrought iron railing is cool and smooth beneath my hands. Below, the courtyard is quiet, bathed in the soft glow of a single lamp. From somewhere nearby, faint strains of music drift, perhaps klezmer, a violin weaving a poignant melody that seems perfectly suited to the atmosphere of Kazimierz. It's not intrusive, just a gentle thread of sound in the quiet air. I lean against the railing, looking up past the rooftops toward the darkening sky. A few stars are beginning to prick the deep blue canvas. The air feels clean, crisp. The specific sounds of this neighborhood reach me, the distant chime of a church bell, the low murmur of conversation from an open window across the way, the soft scrape of a chair on a wooden floor somewhere nearby. These are the sounds of lives being lived, gentle, ordinary moments unfolding. It feels peaceful, authentic. Returning inside, I close the balcony door, shutting out the chill, but carrying the feeling of the neighborhood with me. The room feels warm, inviting. I switch on a small lamp beside the armchair, casting a pool of soft, golden light. It highlights the textures in the room, the grain of the wood, the weave of the fabric on the sofa. I consider making tea, the familiar ritual appealing after the journey, but decide instead to simply sit for a while, letting the quietude of the space envelop me. This room, this haven above the streets of Kazimierz, feels right. It holds a sense of peace, a stillness that resonates with my own inclination towards quiet observation. I can already imagine sitting at the desk in the morning light, writing, or simply gazing out at the courtyard. For now, I sink into the armchair, feeling the day's travel release its hold. The journey pauses here in this quiet room. gathering strength for the explorations that tomorrow will bring. The soft sounds of Krakow murmur outside, a gentle promise. Chapter 4. Morning Light on the Rynek. The early morning air is cool and still as I step into the vast expanse of the Rynek Glony, Krakow's main market square. The sun is just beginning its ascent, casting long, soft shadows and bathing the eastern facades of the surrounding buildings in a gentle golden light. The square, which I imagine buzzes with life later in the day, is wonderfully, peacefully empty now. Only a few early risers cross the immense space, their footsteps echoing faintly on the ancient cobblestones. Pigeons strut and coo, seemingly undisturbed rulers of this morning kingdom. My gaze is drawn upwards towards the twin towers of St. Mary's Basilica. The intricate brickwork and Gothic spires are magnificent, catching the nascent sunlight. I stand for a long moment, simply absorbing the scale and beauty of it, the deep history embedded in its very stones. There's a profound sense of permanence here, a feeling of standing at a crossroads of centuries. The air carries a clean freshness, perhaps a hint of damp stone from the night's dew. Then, piercing the morning quiet, comes the sound, the Hedjnal Mariaki, the famous trumpet call played from the taller tower of the basilica. The notes are clear, poignant, slightly melancholic, echoing across the vast square. It stops abruptly mid-phrase, a tradition held for centuries, a living piece of history sounding out over the awakening city. I listen, captivated, until the silence settles back, deeper now for having been broken by such a meaningful sound. It feels like a secret shared with the morning itself. I begin to walk slowly, circling the perimeter of the square. My attention drifts to the cloth hall, the Serenity, standing proudly in the center. Its Renaissance architecture, the elegant arcades, glows warm in the morning light. I run my hand lightly along the cool stone of one of its pillars as I pass, feeling the smoothness worn by time and countless hands. Inside, I know, stalls await the day's commerce. But now, its exterior possesses a quiet dignity, a sleeping giant at the heart of the city. Flower vendors are beginning to arrive, setting up their stalls near the base of the Adam Mickiewicz monument. Buckets brimming with colorful blooms, roses, chrysanthemums, asters offer vibrant splashes against the muted tones of the stone square. The vendors move with practiced ease, arranging their wares, their quiet conversations a soft counterpoint to the cooing pigeons. The fresh, sweet scent of the flowers drifts gently on the air, a promise of beauty unfolding. I find a simple wooden bench near the edge of the square facing the cloth hall. Sitting here, I can take in the panorama, the pastel-colored facades of the townhouses lining the square, each unique, with their varying roof lines and window styles. The intricate details of the basilica, the quiet grandeur of the Serenity. It feels like sitting within a perfectly composed painting, bathed in the softest light. I pull out my notebook, but for now, I simply watch, absorbing the scene. A street cleaner sweeps the cobblestones nearby, the rhythmic rasp of the broom a soothing sound. A cyclist glides silently past. A cafe owner unlocks his door, the jingle of keys sharp in the quiet. These small signs of the city beginning its day are gentle intrusions, part of the unfolding rhythm. There's a peacefulness in observing these ordinary routines against such an extraordinary backdrop. My thoughts drift, not forming distinct narratives, but simply absorbing the feeling of the place, the weight and beauty of its history, resting lightly on the present moment. The sun climbs higher, the shadows shortening, the light becoming brighter, clearer. More people begin to appear, though the square retains its tranquil atmosphere. The magic of the early morning lingers. I feel a sense of gratitude for having witnessed this quiet beginning, this gentle awakening of Krakow's heart. It's these moments, found in the spaces before the world rushes in, that often hold the purest essence of a place. I close my notebook, the blank pages still waiting, feeling the stillness of the square settle deep within me. Chapter 5. Stillness on Wawel Hill. The walk up Wawel Hill is gentle, a slow ascent along wide paved pathways. The air feels slightly different up here, cleaner, carrying the scent of damp earth and old stone. Below, the city murmurs, but here a sense of quiet elevation prevails. The imposing brick walls of the castle complex rise ahead, bastions and towers, speaking of centuries of power, resilience, and history. It feels like stepping into a different realm, a place set apart. I pass through an arched gateway, emerging into the vast outer courtyard. The sheer scale is impressive, surrounded by buildings that represent a blend of architectural styles, Gothic, Renaissance, Baroque, layered over time. The morning sun illuminates the warm colors of the arcaded courtyard of the royal castle, highlighting the intricate details of the stonework and the elegant symmetry of the design. There are other visitors, but the space absorbs them easily, maintaining an atmosphere of calm dignity. I choose not to enter the museums or chambers today, preferring instead to simply be present in the outdoor spaces, to feel the atmosphere of the hill itself. I wander slowly along the pathways, my footsteps soft on the worn flagstones. My gaze follows the lines of the Wawel Cathedral, its complex structure, a testament to evolving faith and history, its golden Sigismund Chapel dome gleaming softly in the sunlight. I pause near its entrance, observing the intricate carvings around the doorway, feeling the immense weight of the stories held within its walls. Finding a pathway leading toward the edge of the hill, I follow it. It opens onto ramparts offering a panoramic view over the Wisła River. The river flows wide and slow below, its surface reflecting the soft blue of the sky. Barges move languidly on the water. On the opposite bank, the city stretches out, a tapestry of rooftops and green spaces. The sound of the city is distant from here, softened by the height and the open air. A gentle breeze stirs, cool and refreshing. I find a stone bench set into the rampart wall and sit, letting the view unfold before me. It's a peaceful spot, perfect for quiet contemplation. My thoughts turn to the layers of history this hill has witnessed: kings and queens, battles and coronations, destruction and rebuilding. All those lives, all those events seem held within the very stones beneath me, whispering on the breeze. It's humbling to sit here, a fleeting visitor in a place of such enduring significance. The sun warms the stone bench beneath me. I close my eyes for a moment, listening. The primary sound is the wind, sighing gently around the ancient walls. Below, the distant, muted sounds of the city provide a low hum. Occasionally, the cry of a bird overhead, or the soft murmur of voices from other visitors passing nearby. It's a soundscape of peace, allowing the mind to settle, to drift. I feel the stillness seep into me, a quiet resonance with the enduring presence of the hill. I open my eyes and watch a small boat tracing a white wake on the river's surface far below. There is beauty in this quiet observation, in simply noticing the play of light on the water, the distant shapes of trees, the slow drift of clouds. It requires nothing more than presence. Wawel Hill feels like a sanctuary, not just of history, but of stillness, offering a perspective both literal and metaphorical, a chance to look out over the world from a place of quiet strength. Reluctantly, I eventually stand, stretching slightly. The sun is higher now, the day warming. It feels time to descend back into the city streets, but I carry the feeling of Wawel with me, the sense of history, the quiet dignity, the expansive view, the deep stillness found on its ancient stones. It's a stillness that contrasts with the gentle pulse of life in the squares and streets below, yet somehow complements it, offering a grounding anchor in the heart of Krakow. Chapter 6. Kazimierz' Footsteps. Today, my steps lead me deeper into Kazimierz, the historic Jewish quarter I glimpsed upon arrival. There's a different energy here compared to the grandeur of the old town's Rynek. The streets are narrower, winding, lined with buildings that wear their history openly. Some facades are beautifully restored, others bear the patina of time more clearly, peeling paint, revealing layers beneath like pages in a well-read book. It feels intimate, intricate, a neighborhood inviting slow discovery. I wander along Soroka Street, a wide open space that feels more like an elongated square. Cobblestones pave the ground, uneven and worn smooth in places. Along its edges stand several historic synagogues. I pause before the old synagogue, its fortress-like walls speaking of endurance. I don't go inside, content to observe the exterior, noting the arched windows, the heavy buttresses, the quiet dignity it exudes. Plaques on nearby walls bear witness to the area's profound and often tragic history, reminders that demand quiet respect and contemplation. Turning onto a smaller side street, the atmosphere shifts slightly. Small artisan shops nestle between residential buildings. I pause by a window displaying intricate silverwork, another showcasing handcrafted ceramics, their glazes catching the soft light. There are fewer crowds here, just the gentle rhythm of local life, someone shaking out a rug from an upper window, the quiet murmur of conversation drifting from a doorway, the soft click of heels on the pavement. It feels like a neighborhood breathing, alive in its present while holding on to its past. I find myself drawn towards a small cafe tucked away on a corner. Its windows are slightly steamed, promising warmth within. Pushing open the heavy wooden door, I'm greeted by the comforting aroma of coffee and roasted chicory, mingling with the scent of old wood. The interior is cozy, dimly lit, with small wooden tables and chairs. Soft jazz music plays at a barely audible volume. I choose a quiet table near the back, ordering a simple cup of tea. The gentle clink of cups and the low hum of conversation from other patrons create a soothing backdrop. Sitting here, nursing the warm tea, I watch the life outside the window. An elderly woman walks slowly past, carrying a shopping bag. Two friends greet each other warmly on the pavement opposite. A cat stretches languidly in a patch of sunlight near a doorway. These small, everyday moments feel amplified in the quiet atmosphere of Kazimierz. It's a place that seems to encourage observation, a slowing down to notice the details often overlooked in the rush of life. The tea is hot, fragrant, grounding. My thoughts drift to the layers of stories embedded in these streets. Generations have lived, worked, celebrated, and mourned within these walls. There's a palpable sense of memory here, not necessarily heavy, but present, interwoven with the fabric of daily existence. It's in the Hebrew lettering still visible on some old signs, the distinct architectural details, the very layout of the streets and squares. Walking here feels like turning pages of history, not in a museum, but in a living, breathing place. Finishing my tea, I step back out into the cool air. I explore a few more streets, discovering hidden courtyards, through archways, glimpses of private worlds with potted plants, bicycles leaning against walls, washing lines strung between buildings. These small enclosed spaces feel like secret gardens, offering moments of unexpected tranquility just steps away from the street. Each corner turned seems to reveal another subtle detail, another facet of Kazimierz' unique character. As the afternoon light begins to soften, I start heading back towards my temporary apartment. My footsteps echo gently on the cobblestones. Kazimierz has left its impression a feeling of quiet resilience, a blend of poignant history and gentle ongoing life. It's a place that asks for more than a superficial glance, rewarding slow exploration with a deeper sense of connection. The quiet murmur of the neighborhood stays with me, a gentle resonance carried in my thought. Chapter 7. Along the Planty Path. Today feels like a day for green spaces, for the gentle rustle of leaves and the soft filter of sunlight through branches. I make my way towards the Planty, the unique park that encircles Krakow's old town like a green ribbon, following the course of the old medieval fortifications. Stepping onto the wide, shaded path feels like entering a different world, quieter, softer, just meters away from the bustling streets I left behind. Mature trees, chestnut, maple, linden, form a dense canopy overhead, their leaves creating a dappled pattern of light and shadow on the pathway before me. The air here smells different, fresher, carrying the scent of damp earth, chlorophyll, and blooming flowers from the well-tended beds that line the walkway. It's a soothing immersion in nature, woven seamlessly into the urban fabric. The sounds change too. The city's hum fades, replaced by bird song, the whisper of wind in the leaves, the distant laughter of children. I walk slowly, with no particular destination in mind, simply following the curve of the path. Locals share this space, adding to its peaceful atmosphere. An elderly gentleman sits on a bench, engrossed in a newspaper. A young couple walks hand in hand, talking softly. A mother pushes a stroller, humming a quiet tune. There's a shared sense of quiet enjoyment and appreciation for this green sanctuary. I feel myself relaxing further, my pace slowing naturally to match the park's unhurried rhythm. Occasionally, remnants of the old city walls emerge from the greenery, a weathered stone bastion, a section of thick brickwork, a rounded tower covered in ivy. These fragments of history are integrated beautifully into the park's design, reminders of Krakow's past standing peacefully amidst the trees and flowers. It adds another layer to the experience, a sense of walking alongside centuries, protected now not by stone walls, but by a canopy of green. I pause by a small pond, its surface reflecting the surrounding trees and the sky above like a living watercolor. A few ducks paddle serenely, leaving gentle V-shaped wakes behind them. I watch them for a while, finding a simple pleasure in their untroubled movements. The play of light on the water is mesmerizing, constantly shifting, catching the breeze. It's moments like these, quiet, observational, undemanding, that feel deeply restorative. Further along, the path widens near a small fountain, its gentle splashing adding another layer to the park soundscape. Children chase pigeons nearby, their joyous shrieks softened by the open space. I find an empty bench beneath a large chestnut tree and sit for a while, content to simply be. I notice the intricate patterns of bark on the tree trunk, the delicate veins on a fallen leaf at my feet, the way sunlight catches a spiderweb strung between branches. Focusing on these small details anchors me in the present moment. The Planty feels like the city's quiet heartbeat, a place where nature and history intertwine, offering respite and beauty to all who wander its paths. It's a testament to thoughtful urban planning, preserving a green lung that clearly nourishes the well-being of Krakow's inhabitants. Sitting here, enveloped in the calm, I feel a sense of connection to the city, not just through its historical monuments, but through these shared spaces of simple peace. As the sun begins to dip lower, casting longer shadows across the path, I slowly rise and continue my gentle circumnavigation. The light takes on a warmer golden hue, filtering through the leaves in breathtaking ways. The Planty seems to sigh softly around me, settling into the late afternoon quiet. I feel refreshed, my mind clearer, grateful for the time spent walking beneath the trees, listening to the whispers of nature within the city's embrace. This green pathway has been a quiet revelation. Chapter 8. The Sweetness of Serenity. There is a particular kind of quiet comfort to be found in traditional cafes, especially those dedicated to the art of pastry. Today, I seek out such a place, a kukiernia recommended for its classic atmosphere and authentic Polish sweets. Pushing open the glass pane door, I met with a soft chime and the immediate comforting aroma of sugar, vanilla, and perhaps a hint of cinnamon and baked apples. It's a scent that speaks of warmth, tradition, and simple pleasures. The interior is charmingly old-fashioned. Small round tables are covered with crisp white cloths, perhaps with a small vase holding a single flower on each. Lace curtains soften the light filtering through the large windows. Behind a long glass counter, an array of cakes and pastries sits in neat rows, each looking like a small work of art. Glossy fruit tarts, cream-filled rolls dusted with powdered sugar, tall layer cakes, and blocks of rich cheesecake. The colors are soft, inviting. I approach the counter slowly, admiring the careful presentation. An elderly woman with kind eyes and flour dusting her apron smiles gently. Following a quiet recommendation, I choose a slice of Rynek, the traditional Polish cheesecake, and a simple cup of black coffee. I find a small table near the window, offering a view of the quiet street outside, and settle in. The atmosphere is hushed, peaceful. Other patrons, mostly older locals, sip their drinks and chat in low tones, or simply sit in quiet contemplation. My coffee arrives first, strong and dark in a delicate porcelain cup. The aroma is rich, grounded. Then comes the Rynek. It looks beautifully simple, a thick slice, pale yellow, resting on a thin, crumbly base, perhaps lightly dusted with powdered sugar. I take a moment just to appreciate its appearance before picking up my fork. The texture is denser than cheesecakes I'm used to, smoother, richer, almost velvety on the tongue. The flavor is subtly sweet, with a gentle tang from the Twarog cheese, perfectly balanced. I eat slowly, savoring each mouthful. It tastes homemade, authentic, crafted with care according to time-honored methods. It's not overly sweet or complex, relying instead on the quality of its simple ingredients. Paired with a robust coffee, it's a perfect combination, a comforting ritual on a quiet afternoon. Outside the window, life goes by at a gentle pace. Pedestrians stroll past. Sunlight catches the leaves of a nearby tree. Inside, time seems to slow down even further. The sounds within the kukiernia are soft, muted, the quiet clink of cutlery on china, the gentle hiss of the coffee machine behind the counter, the low murmur of conversation. It's a soundscape that encourages relaxation, allowing thoughts to drift easily. I find myself simply observing the details, the pattern on the porcelain cup, the way the light reflects off the polished wooden counter, the careful movements of the woman serving behind it. There is beauty in this simplicity, in the quiet dignity of the place. This experience feels quintessentially Polish, a moment of quiet indulgence rooted in tradition. It's not about grand gestures, but about finding pleasure in well-made, simple things, enjoyed in a peaceful setting. The Serenity is more than just a pastry. It feels like a taste of local culture, a connection to the everyday rituals of Krakow life. I feel a sense of quiet contentment, a warmth spreading through me that has little to do with the coffee's temperature. Finishing the last crumb of cheesecake and the final sip of coffee, I linger for a few moments longer, reluctant to break the spell of serenity. This small cafe with its gentle atmosphere and delicious offerings feels like another of Krakow's quiet treasures. It's a reminder that sometimes the most profound experiences are the simplest ones, a quiet moment, a delicious taste, a peaceful space shared with strangers united in the simple appreciation of sweetness and calm. I leave a few coins on the table and step back out, carrying the sweet memory with me. Chapter 9. Farewell to the Wisła. The late afternoon sun casts a warm golden light across the city as I take a final slow walk along the banks of the Wisła River. Wawel Hill rises majestically on the opposite side, its silhouette softened in the hazy glow. The river itself flows slowly, its surface shimmering, reflecting the deepening blue sky and the warm tones of the buildings lining its banks. It feels like a fitting place for a quiet farewell to Krakow. I find a bench facing the water, the same kind of simple wooden bench found throughout the city's parks and squares. Sitting here, I listen to the gentle sounds, the soft lapping of water against the embankment wall, the distant cries of gulls circling overhead, the low thrum of a tour boat passing further downstream. People stroll along the pathway behind me, their footsteps and voices muted, part of the gentle soundscape. The air is cool, carrying the fresh scent of the river. My mind drifts back over the past few days. Images surface gently. The vastness of the Rynek in the early morning light, the haunting notes of the Hedźnia mariachi echoing in the stillness, the palpable history and quiet dignity of Kazimierz, its hidden courtyards and resilient spirit, the green embrace of the Planty path, sunlight filtering through the leaves, the comforting sweetness of Serenity in the quiet kukiernia. Each memory holds a distinct feeling, a specific quality of light or sound or scent. Krakow revealed itself quietly, not through grand pronouncements, but through subtle details and gentle atmospheres. It's a city that wears its immense history with a certain grace, allowing the past and present to coexist peacefully. I felt welcomed by its quiet squares, its walkable streets, its moments of unexpected beauty, found around seemingly ordinary corners. There's a resilience here, a quiet strength beneath the surface beauty that I find deeply affecting. The sun dips lower, painting the sky in softer shades of pink and orange above the Wawel silhouette. The river reflects the colors, transforming into a ribbon of liquid light. It's breathtakingly beautiful, yet profoundly peaceful. A gentle melancholy settles within me, the familiar feeling that accompanies the end of a stay in a place that has touched me. It's not sadness exactly, but a quiet acknowledgement of parting, a bittersweet appreciation for the time spent here. Back in the quiet apartment above Kazimierz, the packing is a simple meditative process. Folding clothes, placing my notebook and camera carefully back into the worn leather satchel. Each action feels deliberate, marking the transition. The room already feels different, emptier, my presence receding. I take a final moment on the small balcony, looking down into the now shadowed courtyard, listening to the evening sounds of the neighborhood one last time, a window closing, distant music, muffled voices. I run my hand over the cool wood of the desk where I sat and wrote, a silent gesture of thanks to this temporary haven. It provided shelter, peace, a quiet space from which to explore and reflect. Carrying my satchel, I closed the apartment door gently behind me, the click of the lock echoing softly in the hallway. The feeling of Krakow, its history, its beauty, its quiet resilience, is packed away too, not in a bag, but within my memories, ready to be carried onward. The taxi ride back to Krakow Glony is quiet, retracing the path through the darkening streets. Familiar landmarks flash past the window, viewed now through the lens of departure. There's a sense of completion, of a chapter gently closing. I feel gratitude for the experiences, for the quiet moments of connection, for the beauty discovered in the everyday corners of this remarkable city. The station lights glow ahead, signaling the next stage of the journey aboard the Wanderer. Chapter 10. Tracks leading onward. The familiar interior of the Wanderer welcomes me like an old friend. The soft lighting, the scent of wood and tea, the gentle stillness within its walls. It's a comforting embrace after days spent exploring. I sink into my usual armchair by the large window as the train gives a gentle lurch, beginning its slow departure from Krakow Glony. The platform slides past, figures receding, the station lights blurring into streaks of gold. Outside, the lights of Krakow glimmer, a constellation spread out against the darkening landscape. I can just make out the distant silhouette of Wawel Hill, a final faint impression against the night sky. The city that felt so present just moments ago is now becoming part of the receding view, transforming back into an idea, a memory. The train picks up speed almost imperceptibly, the gentle clickety-clack of the wheels on the tracks re-establishing its familiar, soothing rhythm. I lean my head back against the soft cushions, watching the city lights fade into scattered pinpricks, eventually swallowed by the darkness of the Polish countryside. The journey onward has begun. There's always a unique feeling in these first moments of departure, a blend of looking back and looking forward, a quiet transition between known experiences and the unknown horizon ahead. The steady motion of the train is grounding, a constant presence through these shifts. My notebook rests on the small table beside me. I pick it up, its worn cover familiar in my hands. Opening it, I flip through the pages filled during my time in Krakow, sketches of architectural details, notes on the morning light in the Rynek, reflections on the atmosphere of Kazimierz, descriptions of the Wisła at sunset. These jottings are fragments, attempts to capture fleeting impressions, anchors for memory. I don't write anything new just yet, content for now to simply hold the memories. What is the essence of Krakow that I carry with me? It's a feeling of quiet dignity, I think. A beauty that doesn't shout, but reveals itself slowly to those who take the time to look. It's the weight of history felt not as a burden, but as deep roots grounding the present. It's the resilience seen in the life continuing amidst poignant memories, the warmth found in simple traditions like sharing pastries in a quiet cafe, the peace discovered along tree-lined paths and beside the slow-flowing river. The carriage is filled with a comfortable silence, broken only by the rhythmic sound of the train. It's a sound that encourages introspection, allowing thoughts to surface and drift without pressure. I gaze out into the darkness, where the landscape is now invisible, a blank canvas onto which my thoughts can project themselves. The reflection in the window shows the warm interior of the carriage, a small, self-contained world moving steadily through the night. There is peace in this movement, in the surrender to the journey itself. Knowing that the wanderer carries me safely through the night allows for a deep sense of relaxation. The destination is not yet known, or perhaps it is simply the journey itself. The continuous unfolding of landscapes and experiences, both external and internal. The quiet squares of Krakow are behind me now, but their stillness travels with me, absorbed into the fabric of my ongoing exploration. Closing my eyes, I let the rhythm of the train lull me further into a state of calm. The gentle sway, the steady sound of the wheels, it's a familiar meditation, a prelude to rest. The journey continues onward through the night, carrying memories of Krakow's quiet beauty and holding gentle anticipation for whatever lies beyond the next dawn. For now, there is only the darkness outside, the warm quiet within, and the steady, peaceful rhythm of the tracks leading onward.